Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Scots We Hate podcast. And today I'm joined by musician and composer Finn Anderson and theatre director Tania Azevedo to talk about A Mother's Song, a new folk musical, which, as you're about to hear, is a hugely ambitious and exciting production. Hello, Tania and Finn.
Hello.
Hi.
Tania, can you give us an overview of A Mother's Song?
Yes, I can. So Mother's Song is a musical that Finn and I have been creating for many, many years. More on that later. And it tells the story of Sarah, who has just moved into her new house with her partner, Alex. And in the process of moving, she discovers this box that was left to her by her Aunt Betty. And Aunt Betty had collated all the research that she could find about their ancestors who had migrated from Scotland to Ulster in Northern Ireland and then to the Appalachian Mountains.
Right.
And all of this research is a combination of their stories, but importantly, a combination of ballads and the folk songs that had been passed on by all of these women who were all on the verge of motherhood. And so this research really begins to open Sarah's eyes and mind to the possibility of her own way of having a family.
Excellent. And Finn, I know you for your music. I didn't really know you had a theatre background as well. What's your involvement and how do you view the project?
Yeah, for sure. So that was a good summary, Tania. But we conceived the project together. So it came from my fascination with the Scots ballads and how they've travelled and how they've evolved over time, and also our kind of joint interest in all of the different themes that are explored throughout the show. So the whole concept kind of came as a joint thing when we first met in 2014, and we started working on this in 2017, 2018. And yeah, so my role in the project has been kind of co-creating the story with Tania. So we've shaped the story together, and also writing all of the music and lyrics and kind of adapting the traditional music and songs and ballads to kind of reframe them slightly in the story.
And there's going to be an EP released as well with the music from the show. In fact, the Sarah song is out now, the first kind of release from it. Was that always the intention to have a physical copy of the music as well?
I think, yeah, I guess it's a really interesting thing about musical theatre that makes it different to other forms of theatre is that it can exist in a different form outside of the theatre, so it can be this thing that people can come and see the show, and then, or people that can't come and see the show can get the music in a different form. And so I guess with theatre projects, for both of us, I think it always feels great to create that other thing. But yeah, a recording project is such a different beast to making a theatre show.
And for this piece in particular, it felt really, because it's all about folk music and the traveling of this folk music, and there are so many folks all over the world that have an interest in the story that won't be able to come and see it this time round. And it was really important to us to start making the piece accessible to folks wherever they may be.
I suppose we should say at the beginning where people can see it and how they can get tickets and all of those things.
Yeah, so it opens, it's so soon now, but it's opening on the 23rd of February at the Macrobert Arts Centre in Stirling. And it's running just for 5 shows there to begin with. And so yeah, we go into rehearsals at the end of this month, and tickets are on sale. Is it at motherssong.com, I think?
It is at motherssong.com, indeed. I will double check.
And do you know if you've got any plans to take it elsewhere, or is it too early to say?
Tania?
Still too early to say at this stage. We're in several different conversations with folks all over, both in Scotland and out of Scotland. But at this stage, still just very much in planning phases. So we're hoping that folks coming to see it in this iteration will rave so much about it that we'll have no choice but to have to take it all over the place.
Yeah, I guess the dream would be that it has life after these 5 shows, and that it's able to travel a bit. And this is kind of a step on the journey for us.
But because of the kind of transatlantic side of things, it does feel like something that you could hopefully take to North America or all around the world, hopefully.
all around the world. You said it, so we'll just tell them that you told them. That's what it's got to be. But yeah, I think, and also, the story is about, and it's about many things, but one of the things it's about is about how music travels and about how stories travel, and so it feels like it's kind of built into the story that it would be a piece that we would love to travel, but you never know what's going to happen. So if it runs for 5 days in Stirling and that's the life that it has, then that'll also be really exciting. So we'll see.
Because it seems like a very timely subject and topic to be looking at, because I think that Scottish ballads and Scottish folk tradition and all of those things are being kind of re-examined, and new people are discovering them all the time. And also that idea of travel is something that, in terms of a Scottish diaspora, has really only recently been, celebrated. I remember years ago being in Spain, and someone said, well, the Irish diaspora, that's everywhere. It's very, it's a pub in every, I had a pint of Guinness in Fiji once in an Irish pub. But Scotland didn't seem to have that identity, or at least it wasn't public necessarily. But I think that's changing. Is that something that you were aware? Did you think, yeah, this fits in with a lot of what else is going on culturally?
Honestly, probably not. I mean, when we started it was 5 years ago when we first came up with the idea. So I guess some things have changed and evolved since then. But it definitely feels like, Scottish folk music and folk culture has had such an impact in so many places in the world, and that is something that's really alive and well in Scotland. Our traditions are really alive and well here, and there's a lot of people kind of carrying that torch, and so yeah, it's really nice to be a part of that. And I guess it's also important to recognize that's a lot of that travel of the songs and the stories is tied up in a colonial history too, and so it's not all simple and sweet. The reasons that the songs traveled and the people traveled is not always sometimes romanticized, and so that's something that we've had to look at a little bit as we develop this story too.
And the reasons why they had to leave, not necessarily going to something better, but just having to get out. That was the other things as well.
The reasons they had to leave and whose land they were going to. So like, both of those things are complicated, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, this has been years in the making. How are you feeling now that it's getting close to the premiere?
Relieved. I think that would be the word for me. I think that it's, making a musical is such a big beast of a project always, because you're interconnecting so many different art forms into telling one story cohesively, and we've been on a long journey, and we've been very, very lucky that we've been so supported by not only by the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, but also by American Music Theatre Project along the way, also the Lowry Theatre in Manchester. So we've had a lot of help getting to this point, but it's also felt like the journey needed to have taken this long for us to grow as artists, for us to fine tune what we wanted the story to be saying, and for us to spend the time that the story needed to have the authentic representation in terms of its sound, in terms of its story, in terms of finding the right collaborators. All of those things are partnerships that take a long time to develop.
And one of the things I was just going to say, I think one of the things that's really exciting for me at this point is that, it's been me and Tania sitting with this for so long, and suddenly we have this huge team of people. We've got, there's a designer, and everyone has an assistant, and there's movement, and there's music direction, and there's a whole team of production people and producers and marketing people, and all the folk that it takes to, it's when you make an album as a singer-songwriter, it's just sort of you driving the whole thing, and you bring people in for different bits of it. And with a show of this scale, the team is so huge, and that's just such a joy to be part of such a collaborative thing.
And of course, part of those years that you've been developing this, we had COVID and lockdown, and were you able to continue to work together during that period, or was it kind of a bump in the road, one too many?
It's funny because we were in Chicago in February 2020 doing a residency for A Mother Song, and the date of our sharing was 14th of March 2020. Yes, 14th of March 2020, which if we can remember, that traumatic date was the date that everything closed down and people flying everywhere. So you know, we were really in the midst of it as we were leading to this sharing, and the sharing that never happened. There was never to be. So I think that for the first however many months, Finn and I were a bit unable to look at it. You know, we were just like, okay, we almost had our sharing, and then it didn't. But it also allowed us, once we got over that, it also allowed us space to develop it in different ways. During the pandemic years, we were able to do a concert at the Lowry. We were able to have time to continue writing. So, you know, after that moment of jolting, jolt, is that right? Yeah, it was beneficial in the end, I think. I don't know if that's how Finn would tell that story, but maybe that's.
No, I think for sure it was a really strange and surreal to be kind of in the midst of trying to create this thing as the world was shutting down, and then to get to revisit it, and I think we've all gone on a journey through the pandemic of growth and change, and it's been difficult for everyone in different ways. But I think for me, getting to go away and make an album, which was a you know, I was only able to really spend the real time on that album because I wasn't doing so many theatre things because it was all closed down, and that was such a gift. And then to be able to return to this after making something that was just the music has given me a whole new perspective then on writing this show. So yeah, I'm glad that it worked out the way it did, even if at the time it didn't feel like that.
That's very philosophical of you both, I think.
Ask me on a different day, you'll get a different answer.
I'm sure. So you're about to start rehearsals. Do you know how they're going to unfold? Have you met everyone involved?
We have met everyone involved. If not in person, we at least have had Zooms with everyone involved. I'm actually going to Scotland tomorrow to visit the Macrobert Arts Centre, which I've been to already, but we're having a site visit with a creative team. And yes, we've assembled a wonderful cast, half of which has already been involved in some iterations of the concert so far, half of which are completely new. So we have a really lovely mix of fresh new energy and people that are already really committed to the story. And now it's where the fun part is. Today I was literally just spent the morning putting together schedules and getting everyone's faces onto one spreadsheet. And it's really ramping up to getting all of these people that so far have only been online to the same space, and that's really exciting.
And I'm presuming that the EP is completely recorded and it's already done and ready to go. Is that right?
The EP exists, and it's out on the 27th of January. So it's all done, and the EP features the band that are going to be doing this first production, and this amazing group of musicians. So we're really excited about that. And it also the cast that's on the EP is the cast from the concert that we did in October at the Macrobert. So some of the cast are in this first production. Some of them have moved on to other things and are not able to join us for February, but we're part of that gig that we did in Stirling.
And we mentioned Sarah's song, which is sung by Bethany Tennick. She's in the show. She's kind of central to the show. Can you talk a little bit about the cast and how it works?
Tania, do you want to talk about this?
Absolutely. So Bethany is playing Sarah of Sarah's song, titular character, and we're both Finn and I had worked with Bethany at different points, and we're really excited to have her back. And we have also joining us from previous concerts. We also have Kirsty Finley and Melanie Bell, who've both been in the concert version before and are featured on the EP. And then we're really happy to be welcoming some hopefully known Scottish faces. These are all wonderful Scottish actors that have been working whether in Scotland or in England, back and forth. Blythe Jandu and Tinashe Warakandwa, Craig Hunter and Stephanie McGrath.
McGarry.
Fantastic. I'm very good at the Scottish, clearly. And all of these folks are coming together with us at the end of the month. It's very much an ensemble piece. So despite the fact that Sarah's the titular character of Sarah's song, there are no lead characters, as it were. It very much works with the six of them sharing the whole of the story, especially because the story takes place in 4 different places. So we are in Scotland, we are in Northern Ireland, we are in West Virginia, and we are in New York. And so all of these places have their kind of core storytellers.
Yeah, totally. And the way that the story kind of unfolds is that it's mostly told through the lens of Sarah, this modern day character, and as she kind of uncovers these stories of the past, and then they start to kind of take over her world and her apartment and her life. So she kind of finds herself swept up into the past and into the histories and the ballads and the stories, and kind of can't escape it. That's kind of how the other characters come into her world.
And are you going to see something new when you go into rehearsals? I mean, I'm thinking of the staging, maybe even the costume. I don't know, those kind of things. Is that going to be new to you guys?
100% new, and I'm so happy, because like Finn says, so far it's just been us conjuring it, or me and our wonderful designer Emma Bailey in her studio playing in a model box, and like, and then they go up the stairs, and then they go down the stairs, and then they come around, you know, so there is all this planning that goes on before, you know, in terms of how quick they have to get their costumes on and off, that we've planned it, but we've never tried it. And so everything's going to be completely new, and that's what's really exciting about a first ever production, is that all departments are problem solving and coming to it fresh. We don't know what it's going to look like in the end. We only have our best hope, and our best foreseeing of problems and pre-thinking of problems that might happen. But actually that's really part of the joy, is that when we all come together on the 31st of January, that group of people are going to make a show that doesn't exist yet, and that feels really exciting.
Totally. Yeah, and things will keep changing through that. We're in rehearsal for sort of 3-4 weeks, and we'll learn things about the script and the songs that are and aren't working, you know, during that time, and the actors will feed in, and there will be different people coming in and out of the room, whether that's the sound designer or the set designer, and they'll observe things, and so changes will be made all the way along the way, which is terrifying, you know. I was going to say,
it does sound terrifying, because I mean, most, you know, when writers go past the editing process, they hand it in and think, well, you know, that's it, I can't do anything about it. But you're going to have all the time before opening curtain to make these changes and think, oh, that works, that doesn't work. Exciting and terrifying at the same time, I imagine. It's
so interesting how I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of years, and kind of how the process of kind of straddling, I guess, the music world and the singer-songwriter gigging, touring, album making thing, and the working in theatre thing, and they're so different in so many ways. There's a lot in common in lots of ways, but the kind of being, with an album you can just tweak it until it's happy, and then you go, okay, I'm going to release it now. Whereas with theatre, it's like you have the date, and then everyone goes, oh, we've got to make the thing now, and it doesn't matter if it's ready or not. The audience are coming on that day, and so just in terms of how the process works, it's so different. You know, you can, because like you say, if you're writing something, you can tinker forever, but that deadline is a great thing, and also a scary thing.
Because it seems to me that theatre, perhaps more than any other art form, is a real collaboration, because it's not just musicians coming together or whatever. You've got the people who are designing the set, who are making the set, who are, you know, all of those things, and you've all got to kind of be pushing for the same goal in the end.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And what's funny is that I also think it's a real collaboration with the audience, you know, because the people that receive the material, when we did our Chicago sharing and when we did our Manchester sharing, and the people that are going to be there in Stirling are different people, have different expectations of the material, and their reactions to the material will inform changes that we make to it moving forward. So it's not only highly collaborative between all the departments in our team, which it really is, and I love that part of it. Is my favorite part is the fact that I, as the director, only have so much control, and all I can do is choose the best people and trust my team, you know, that we're all on the same vision, because there are all the departments at play, you know, the choreography, the sound design, the lighting design, all of those things.
Because I was going to ask, what can people expect when they arrive at Macrobert's, but I guess you guys don't really know yet what entirely to expect.
We know some things.
Yeah.
Can
you share with us, or do you want to leave that for when the curtain goes up?
I think that we can share that people should expect a fully visual auditorial experience. We know that there will be lots of movement, and we know that there will be a lot of music from beginning to end. Is that all we know, Finn?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's lots of things we could say about the show, and it's really story focused. So, it's not a piece of experimental theatre. It's going to take you on an emotional journey with some characters that are going through something, and it's told mostly through music. So the show is about 80% song, and the bits that are not song, a lot of it has music running underneath the scenes. So it's a really musical experience, and it kind of straddles, I guess, hopefully straddles a little bit between gig and theatre, in that we've got, the band is on stage and really visible and really part of the show. That it's not pre-recorded music. They're there and they're playing the music live every night. And yeah, it's brought to life through kind of choreography and a visual design that is still developing, but is looking really exciting. So hopefully it will bring together the things that you love about a traditional session or a good gig, with sitting around a campfire hearing a really great story that has resonance for your life and moves you, and entertains, hopefully, all of those things.
That's really interesting, because when I first read about it, what struck me was the kind of epic nature of it, what you were looking for. But actually what you're describing is quite intimate. And you can have both, I guess, but...
I think it is both, in a way. I think the scope of the story is probably quite epic, in terms of like the time span. It spans sort of 500 years, and people in different continents, and people going through some really massive things in their life. These women kind of grappling with one of the biggest decisions, or non-decisions in some of the cases, that they're ever going to have. But in terms of at its heart, it's, I guess, the form of it is drawing on the tradition of storytelling and the tradition of Scottish storytelling, which has travelled to Ulster and travelled and also exists in Irish culture, but then has also travelled onto Appalachian. So I guess it's the way that the story is told. While it might be on a big stage and it might feel epic at times, it's kind of at its heart, it's about storytelling, which can be a really intimate one-to-one thing. Is that fair, Tania?
Absolutely. And I think that what I would add to it is that at the crux of the dilemmas and events for all of the characters in the story is they are very intimate. They are very intimate, personal, domestic dilemmas, even if the setting of their lives are epic. Which we hope is what's going to allow any audience to connect to the stories.
And I think one of the things that's interesting about the ballads, like generally, is that they can be performed in a really intimate way, but the content of them is often really epic. It's murder and it's war and it's betrayal and it's heartbreak or whatever. The ballads, in terms of the existing Scottish ballads, a lot of them, what they deal with is really epic, even if the singing of them might be more of a smaller thing.
And having a live band on stage, which I didn't realise was going to happen, gives it an extra energy as well.
Yeah, that's like a non-negotiable thing for me in theatre. The music has to be live, The
musicians have to be seen instead of under the stage where they're tucked away.
Absolutely that.
So before we tell people again where they can get tickets and all that kind of stuff, what's next for you guys, or is it all about A Mother's Song for now? Yeah, Tania, look in your face, says it's all about A Mother's Song. I cannot think of anything else.
Absolutely. I've told everyone in my life to not speak to me until A Mother's Song is done. This is where my focus is at. And hopefully what comes after is also allowing A Mother's Song to grow and to reach a wider audience, I would say.
Because you mentioned you've got partnerships with the Conservatoire and was it an
American music theatre project?
Yeah. So would those suggest that there would perhaps they'd be willing to do something with A Mother's Song as well?
They've been our partners so far, and that they've supported us getting to this stage.
Right.
So I'm not sure that they would be the partners for the future of the piece, even though I'm sure they'll continue to be very, very supportive of the next steps. But I think it'll be more of an exercise of working out where to next, like where next can house us, and that has audiences that want to see it.
Yeah, and we were also, individually and collectively working on other things too. Me and Tania have got another show that we've been talking about for almost as long as A Mother's Song that's earlier in its development, but that we're developing, which is a collaboration with a Brazilian songwriter called Sipa. So that show's kind of set between Scotland and Brazil, and moves between those two musical languages and also those two linguistic languages. So between Brazilian Portuguese and Scottish and English language. And yeah, I'd love to make another album at some point in the next couple of years. And I know that Tania's, you say you're focusing on A Mother's Song, but is in high demand for directing musicals all around the country. So yeah.
Well, maybe those are podcasts for another day, really.
Yes, longer sessions.
So tell us again, if you could, about where people will be able to see and when A Mother's Song.
So it's opening on the 23rd of February at the Macrobert Arts Centre in Stirling. And it will be running for 5 shows over 3 days until the 26th. And tickets are at amotherssong.com.
amotherssong.com.
Amazing.
Well, A Mother's Song.
And we're also on the Mother's Song is also on all the usual social media places. We've got the single Sarah's Song, which is out now, and it's got a music video out, so it's on Spotify and YouTube and wherever you get those things. And
I'll put there'll be links to everything that you need linked to on the website on Scots Way as well when this goes out.
Yay.
Tania and Finn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's been fascinating.
It's been really joyous. Thank you for having us.
And we'll be back soon with someone completely different. Cheers.